See this object I'm holding? You may see a triangular shaped pencil with no eraser and a thick lead. And think it's kind of funny looking. And maybe not a very good pencil for a student to use. I see a nice thick lead that is difficult to break, even if the student presses too hard on paper, as a student with neurological disabilities may do. I see a triangular shape that encourages a tripod grasp, which makes the pencil easier to hold and control. And the missing eraser helps the student who obsesses over how their writing looks, writing and erasing the same thing over and over, to move on and complete writing their sentence. This pencil is just one of the tools that I use as a school-based occupational therapy practitioner. Today I would like to talk to you about occupational therapy, what school-based occupational therapy is and what it isn't, and why school-based occupational therapy services may be an important part of a student's free and appropriate public education. First, I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I have 18 years experience as an occupational therapy assistant working in public schools. Prior to working in public schools, I had 2 years of experience working with the elderly providing rehabilitation services. Having experience in both clinical and school-based occupational therapy, I can explain what school-based occupational therapy is, what it isn't, and why school-based occupational therapy services may be an important part of a student's free and appropriate public education. When I tell someone I'm an occupational therapy practitioner, they say, "So, you do vocational training?" I say, "Sorry, no, I'm not a vocational teacher." When I say I practice school-based occupational therapy, then they say, "So you can help my teenager find a job?" "No, sorry, I'm not a job counselor either." In order to understand what occupational therapy is in the schools, you first need to know a little bit about the profession of occupational therapy in general. According to the American Occupational Therapy Association website, accessed November 20th, 2016, occupational therapy as a profession was established in 1917 when the National Society for the Promotion of Occupational Therapy was formed. In 1921, they became known as the American Occupational Therapy Association, commonly referred to as AOTA. Information from the Texas Board of Occupational Therapy Examiners website, accessed on November 20th, 2016, defines occupational therapy as follows: the therapeutic use of everyday life activities or occupations with individuals or groups for the purpose of participation in roles and situations in home, school, workplace, community, and other settings. Occupational therapy services are provided to those who have or are at risk of having a developing illness, injury, disease, disorder, conditions, impairments, disabilities, activity limitation, or participation restrictions. Occupational therapy addresses physical, cognitive, psychosocial, sensory, and other aspects of performance in a variety of contexts to support engagement in everyday life activities that affect health, well-being, and quality of life. Pediatric occupational therapy focuses on maximizing a child's full potential so they may function as close to normal as physically possible, either by helping the child to gain skills or by adapting their environment so they may function more independently. School-based occupational therapy also works with the pediatric population. However, the focus is not on maximizing their potential, but in enabling them to gain the skills they need to function in the school environment. So what is school-based occupational therapy? According to the U.S. Department of Education website article, Building the Legacy, IDEA 2004, accessed on November 20th, 2016, school-based occupational therapy includes services that improve, develop, or restore functions impaired or lost through illness, injury, deprivation, and improve the ability to perform tasks for independent functioning if functionings are limited or impaired or lost, and preventing through early intervention, initial or further impairment or loss of function. Initially passed in 1975, the Education for All Handicapped Children Act guaranteed the right of children with disabilities to receive a free public education with special education services. It was revised and renamed in 1990. Now known as the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, the latest reauthorization was in 2004. This legislation outlines how special education and related services are to be provided in public schools. Occupational therapy and other related services are defined under Part B of IDEA as developmental, corrective, or other supportive service needed for a student to benefit from and participate in their free and appropriate public education. School-based occupational therapy looks at what is preventing the student from accessing their curriculum and provides therapy to help the student function more independently in the classroom. According to Ashley Hoffman's online article, What Parents Need to Know About Occupational Therapy, accessed on the AOTA website November 20th, 2016, in schools, occupational therapy works to ensure that a student can participate in the full breadth of school activities, from paying attention in class, concentrating on the task at hand, holding a pencil, musical instrument, book in the easiest way, or just behaving appropriately in class. In a clinical setting, the occupational therapist sees the child in a therapy gym, and they work either one-on-one or in groups. They may use swings to work on activating the vestibular system, use hot packs to relax spastic muscles, or brush the skin for sensory integration. Classrooms do not have these materials available, since the main job of a school is to educate and not rehabilitate children. School-based occupational therapy takes place in the classroom when at all possible, using the materials the child is exposed to every day. We support the child's fine motor skills when they complete written work with activities and equipment to improve the student's speed and legibility. We work on managing clothing fasteners prior to going into the bathroom so they are able to use the toilet independently. We also work on other self-care skills for feeding and washing their hands. Occupational therapists work with the student in the classroom to develop self-regulation skills so they may be able to sit and work at a table or desk without running off. While school-based occupational therapy is not intended to replace clinical occupational therapy a child may need, this is just one of the many misconceptions about school-based occupational therapy, that if you have one, you don't need the other. Often a student will benefit from both school-based therapy and clinical therapy collaborating to achieve the same goals. We know a little about what school-based occupational therapy is. Now we will touch on what it is not. School-based occupational therapy is not playtime. As stated in Tips for Living Life to Its Fullest, Learning Through Play, accessed on November 20th, 2016 on the AOTA website, it is a child's job or occupation to play, to develop physical coordination, emotional maturity, social skills to interact with other children, and self-confidence to try new experiences and explore new environments. We use elements of play to engage the student, but we select activities that will develop and enhance the skills needed to function at school. When the occupational therapist comes into the room, that does not signal teacher break time. The services we provide are as much for the benefit of the teacher as they are for the student. Often we will need to demonstrate a technique to the teacher so they may continue using it with the child when we are not there, or to provide consistent behavior management throughout the day. School-based occupational therapy covers a small but important piece of therapeutic intervention. It can be a vital part of a student's special education program that enables them to participate in the full academic and extracurricular school experience. We've come a long way since occupational therapy was recognized as a profession in 1917. And the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act opened doors that had previously been closed to students with disabilities. Occupational therapy helped those students proceed through the door so they could be educated in the same schools with their non-disabled peers. School-based occupational therapy may look like playtime, but the students are learning skills they can use to be more independent at school. It's also a valuable learning time for the teacher, who can use the same techniques to build schools between occupational therapy visits. If you're a teacher, you may groan a little the first time you see me coming in your classroom with my big bag on wheels. Hopefully you will soon see me as a valuable resource who will work with you to find potential solutions for all your students, and not just the ones who receive occupational therapy services. And for all the parents out there, I may not be able to help your child find a job, but I can help them develop the skills they will need to complete an application and find a job all on their own.